Welcome to the first episode of the Motor Show. That's Michael on the Open Road. This is a show in which I usually analyze politics while I'm driving around on my job as a delivery driver around Lewis County. And because I'm driving around in a delivery car, you have to expect that there's going to be some quality issues. The first one you're probably noticing already is that this is going to be filmed on a GoPro. And that's because I tried the whole camcorder route earlier this morning, actually, today. Tried to shoot this episode on a camcorder and it shook around like crazy. It couldn't focus and the audio was terrible. I don't expect the audio is going to be much better on this camera, especially when you get up to speed. My little crappy delivery car has a problem with its window that my company will probably never fix. So I get some road noise from time to time. But anyway, earlier today I concentrated on a topic, and I'm gonna go and try and reshoot this episode here. There were a lot of topics that I could have chosen pick from, but I decided to go after something that I hope will help unify our party a little bit better. See, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you guys out there noticed that the conservative platform is pretty divided in the sense that there are these establishment fat cats out there and cuckservatives that, and I mean, they're everywhere. That basically they say what you want to hear and then they don't do what they say, you know. And then there's the liberty movement, the people, the everyday American blue-collar workers, and some of them are also on YouTube already. There's other shows out there, obviously, that kind of cover this sort of thing, like Stefan Molyneux. He's a good guy to look into. People like him that are, you know, they're trying to fight this fight. They're trying to fight the good fight for the people, you know, trying to get the truth out there where it needs to be displayed. And then, you know, so these are the two types of people that we have in the platform. And you know, I'm not really going to go after the politicians because we already know pretty much who is a cuckservative politician and who isn't. You know, we know that we voted for Trump, we know what we wanted, you know, and we know that there's people that are just these obvious establishment swamp creatures in our side that we need to get rid of. The people that I really want to go after right now, though, is talk show hosts, because they have a big voice and they constantly bicker, they constantly act like they know what they're talking about, and they have the audacity to call the president out over really stupid things. That's basically tabloid grade garbage is what I always see. Particularly in mind, there's two people that come to my mind right now, two different talk shows that come to my mind. Three people in total, actually. Michael Medved, he has the Medved Show. That's one of the people that I'd like to go after. He's definitely an establishment type jerk. He wanted Romney to win the election. You know, he never Trumper type of person, just really toxic, doesn't really have much touch with the voter base, obviously. I'm going to leave him alone, though, because there's two other jokers that I'd rather go after that are definitely needed. They definitely need to be roasted for the things that they say and things that they do, and that's Armstrong and Getty. They have a program that airs here in Washington at around, say, 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock, and I always catch the last hour of it because my shift starts at 8 o'clock. These guys are clowns on the radio. They're nothing but the biggest clowns. I mean, They do chastise the media once in a great while. They do report when the media says some pretty absolutely stupid things, because you kind of have to. I mean, it's a good talking point when CNN crosses the line, right? But they also go after points that make no sense, that basically you could put a little CNN emblem up on their show and you'd almost believe that you were watching them. Earlier today, I was listening to them. They tried to say that the president has no crap filter, and they were talking about where he gets his news, that he has no ability to distinguish facts from reality, reality from fiction. That's what they were trying to say. And I just think it's funny because what they're basically saying is that anybody that isn't their program or MSM is fake news, which we all know is complete bullshit. They're basically just covering for their own ass. This is the type of tactic these guys like to use. They'll go after the little guy and brand them as, you know, somebody you can't trust. They'll make claims like that these people are fake news, and, you know, if you believe what they're saying, then you've got a tinfoil hat on, and that sort of stuff. That's what they try to do, but they never actually disclose why they feel that it's fake news. They just go after it and call it fake news. This is a tactic these guys like to do. It's the same tactic that CNN does. They'll air an episode on CNN about something. They'll make a claim that the president isn't doing his job or something like of that nature, and then they don't bother to prove it to you. And that's the distinction I've noticed between the actual independent press and the corporate news, is that the actual independent press, which would be like what I'm doing right here, right now, or what any other YouTuber out there who works, you know, who spends some of their own time to actually have an honest heart-to-heart conversation is doing, you know, we actually go out of our way to prove what we're saying to you. So, I mean, you know, they make a claim and then they hope that the low information person just goes with that claim, just runs with that and doesn't check up on what happens, because the average idiot out there typically, and I mean the average idiot out there, typically will believe the first thing they hear, and even if that source admits that they were lying, they won't go out there and check on it. Okay, so I gotta make a delivery here, so don't go away. You're listening and watching the M.O.T.O.R show. That's with me, Michael, on the open road. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the M.O.T.O.R show with your host, me. And we were talking about the cuckservative media, talking a little bit about Armstrong and Getty. Gonna get into them a little bit more here because they've said some other things that kind of pissed me off. I got a little list over here somewhere, right here. So Armstrong and Getty will typically go after the mainstream media every once in a while and bring up how it's hilarious that they have such tabloid grade crap news. But then, in the same day as I was listening to them, they made the exact same mistake. They decided to go after Donald Trump's handshake that he had with Macron. That I guess it was an awkward handshake. This is not even something that is worth talking about, and they spent a good portion of time on it. I couldn't believe it. It pissed me off that they were, because they're trying to make the president out to be some buffoon, and their goal is to try and make it seem like the narrative of the audience, what the audience needs to believe, is that there's a voter's remorse for voting for this guy. Because look at how stupid he is. Oh, look at his handshake. It's terrible. You know, like, what the hell kind of bad crap reporting is this? Their whole talking point for like 20 minutes was his handshake. Which, honestly, if you know anything about where they're getting this news from, you know that they love to string clips together and make things look even worse than they actually are. My proof of this is if you look at pictures of Trump, you type in Donald Trump president on Google, you'll get a dumbfounded looking picture of Donald Trump. Instead of, they do this stuff on purpose. They make out his image to be really terrible. And I don't think that, I mean, to have the liberals do that is one thing. I mean, we expect that from them. But to have our own conservative media platform, MSM media platforms, do this stuff to us, it's nothing but a big bitch slap in the face, guys. I gotta speak directly to them. You know, you guys are gonna lose your audience real soon. Because people are tired of this. They're tired of the establishment politics. They're tired of you guys trying to control the narrative. So the MSM thinks that it controls the narrative. And it's trying its hardest to basically steer the ship into this direction. And it can't come to terms with the reality that it doesn't control the narrative. These guys, I think, are much the same way. They think they control the narrative, but obviously they don't. I mean, we voted in the direction we voted in. The polls were, you know, like we were saying earlier, the polls were not something that we could trust. They thought they could control the narrative with polling. That didn't work. So now they think they can control the narrative by calling the president a buffoon and saying that he has too long of a handshake. I'm back to home base here, back to where I get my deliveries from, so I'm going to have to cut this video. I will be right back. Stay tuned on the M.O.T.O.R show. And we're still talking about Armstrong and Getty. I'm going to try to get off of them as soon as I can. It just depends on how scatterbrained I am today. Okay, so next point I was going to go over was the 12%. Man, these roads are terrible in Lewis County. I'm going to have a segment one day about Lewis County and how terrible our roads are. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to go over was Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh had was talking about the media. The media was sampling for approval ratings. CNN, obviously, and all these MSM swamp creatures were basically sampling. And Rush says that they had a 12% oversample of Democrats. And I agree with that. I believe that's true. Mainly because if you go and look back on the election, you'll see that they claimed that Trump wasn't doing very good, and yet he won. You know, even on the night of, during all the count-up for the votes, they said that Trump was not looking favorable, and then he won. So I believe that Rush's claim is right here. Armstrong and Getty, however, believe that Rush is over the line for saying this, that he's a buffoon for going after the pollsters, because everybody knows that the pollsters always oversample, but they always correct. See, that's the problem. They don't always correct, and if they do issue corrections, they're the type of correction that you're going to need a magnifying glass to read. I mean, where did they issue the correction? Did they issue it on the inside of some locker at a train station in, you know, Seattle? Where the hell was the retraction? Where was the correction? I didn't see it. I sure as hell didn't hear an apology for the way they treat the president or anything of that nature. I didn't hear an apology for the poorly done polls. So I believe Rush is right, and Armstrong and Getty, I think you guys are just, you know, completely stupid. But I've got one more topic to go over on Armstrong and Getty. One more tabloid grade garbage piece that they went over. And they were talking about the handshake. They also went on to something else with the Trump and Macron meeting. And that's, I guess, Donald Trump and Macron talked a little bit about Napoleon Bonaparte. And they were talking about Napoleon's part in Paris and how Napoleon helped build the city. And I guess somehow Trump got into the losses of Napoleon, and it's like such a nothing point, but Armstrong and Getty made sure to make a whole segment out of it. They went on and on and on and on and on about how it's so weird that the president, they were talking about Napoleon's victories, and now he's talking about how Napoleon lost. How do you get there? I mean, how scatterbrained is this guy? You know, that was basically the gist of their whole entire segment, and it lasted for another good 15-20 minutes, and it's just opinionated garbage. That's all it is. You know, everybody I've ever known that talks about Napoleon will eventually get onto the subject of how he lost in Russia. They will eventually get onto his defeat. So, it's such a nothing burger topic, and these guys felt the need to go after it. I can't believe it. I mean, I shouldn't even be going after it, but I felt like going after it because I just feel like we really need to expose the character of these freaking swamp creatures. I mean, I consider Armstrong and Getty, Michael Medved, these cuckservative, conservative, with quotes, because they're not real conservatives, these cuckservative talk show hosts that have their opinions at you all frickin' day, and they've got nothing constructive to say. Like, all of the criticisms that they have. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you have to like the president if you're a conservative, but all of the criticisms that they have against the president aren't constructive, nor are they noteworthy. They're nothing of the sort. I'm actually, again, arriving at another delivery stop, so I will be right back as soon as this delivery is done with the closing thought. Stay tuned. Back one more time. Hopefully this will be the final segment. I've got a pretty long drive ahead of me, so hopefully I can make this all work out in that drive. Sorry about these bumpy roads, as I said before, Lewis County. There's another one. So anyway, I want to close the, I got one more thing to say about these cuckservative radio hosts, and that's this. I think it's quite rude the way that they treat their callers. This isn't just Armstrong and Getty. This also ends up on Michael Medved's plate too. I was gonna leave him for a different day to tear into his issues, but I think I'll bring this up just because he fits in this category as well. So these guys all of them tend to cut off their callers, and it's hysterical. You remember I was talking about how we the people are tired of this sort of establishment crap, and how we're really quite tired of the tired of being told what to think, tired of having our voice be represented in this sort of a way. Well, this goes hand in hand with that, and this is almost direct proof of what I'm talking about. Count up the gears here real quick. Okay, so these guys will typically have moments in the show where they get their callers on, and they give them a little bit of time to say whatever's on their mind, and then they'll talk with them. Michael Medved does this more so than Armstrong and Getty. So they get this caller on. They get a caller on, and anytime a caller gets on there and tells them that they're out of line for something, or that they're not representing the people's voice well enough, or just anything like that, these guys will cut them off every which way they can. Sometimes a caller will get like a sentence and a half out before being cut off by a disagreeing point of view. They haven't even finished their statement and they get cut off in mid-sentence. And I've even had times where I've been listening, and like I listened to Michael Medved, and a caller will call in and tell Michael that he's not patriotic or something, and Michael will be like, hold on, wait a second, and like, he'll cut the caller off and he'll be like, that's absolutely disrespectful. No, I'm gonna let you go. And then that's it. That's the end of the conversation. And it's not like the caller swore on the air or, insulted Michael. He's just saying it how it is, I mean, if I say something on a line here, guys, let me know in the comments, Go ahead. You are free to criticize my program. I know that this shaky camera sucks. I know that this is highly amateur show. But, that's the thing. I don't get this ego trip. These guys have an ego trip. And this goes back to the MSM thinking that they control the narrative, that they control reality. These guys are the same way. They think that they're the voice of the conservatives. And yet they don't listen to the common man. They don't listen to the blue-collar person. They don't care. They just want these establishment types in power. And I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's because they're getting paid to say that stuff, or maybe it's just the network tells them that they have to. I don't know. I'm not really sure exactly what side they're on. I just know that they're on a crooked side and that they're not representing us in the correct light. I mean, MSM is losing control. At every corner you look, they're losing control, especially the liberal mainstream media. CNN, MSNBC, I mean, what a joke. Those guys are such a damn joke, and their ratings show it, So I guess my message to these cuckservatives before we let them go here is that if they want to keep their audience or make it stronger, they need to start actually going after the issues that matter and stop attacking the president over his handshake. Oh, one more thing I just now remembered. It just popped into my head. I know I said I was going to get off this topic, but before we close the show here with a final thought, I just wanted to point out one more thing that Armstrong and Getty said. They claim the president is a salesman. That's just it. That's their claim. That the president is a salesman. I think that what they're going after is that he hasn't been able to accomplish most of his agenda. That's what they're trying to pass it off as. Yet, they don't bother to point out once again anything more than just the claim. They don't bother to actually point out where exactly are you getting this from? The president is a salesman? Excuse me? I mean, I listen to your guys' program every day, and guess what? You guys always try to sell me something! Like a freaking pillow! America is falling apart, and you think that it's important to sell me a damn pillow! I want to talk about a salesman, my God. I'm gonna leave off on this note for 1 second. I will be right back. The highway's kind of loud, and I don't want you guys to have to hear this for too long. So I will resume filming when I get on a road that's a little more quiet. So stick around. I'll be right back. As a salesman, yes. What a great talking point. Hey guys, I'm back again. Alright, got off the freeway. It was just too damn busy for this sort of thing, and also way too loud for filming this show. Yeah. So that was one of the last claims that they made about the president, was that he was a salesman, that he's not doing enough of his agenda. But then they don't even bother to expose what the hell it is they're talking about. They just make a claim, and once again, low information people, they'll believe the first thing that they hear, and then they don't bother to come back and see if it's true. That's who they're playing off of. That's who they want to convince. Somebody like me comes along and exposes them for what they are, and actually bothers to, you know, if I were to actually bother to even cite my stuff that I'm saying right now, like if I were to play the clips of them, they would still call me crazy, still say I've got a tinfoil hat on. That's the sort of swamp creatures that they are. There are, however, a couple good voices on the radio that I listen to, so I guess we'll end this on a couple good notes here. The closing thought, and one of the shout outs I want to give to is to Todd Herman. He's a local talk show host who's actually a good guy. He calls out a lot of this stuff. He calls out the MSM when they're out of line. He actually called out CNN the last time I was listening to him. He called out CNN on the handshake stuff. So I mean, and he did it in a way that was hysterical. I mean, it was great. It was hilarious. So I mean, Todd, you're a good guy. I'm calling you out as I'm giving you a shout out. I mean, that you're a good dude to listen to. Rush Limbaugh, he's surprisingly a good guy to listen to. I personally, I support his program. So far, he's been pretty good. I mean, I haven't always been there, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But right now, I give him listens, and I find what he has to say very informative. Stefan Molyneux, he's a good guy to listen to. You guys should, if you haven't heard of him, look him up on YouTube. That's StefanMolyneux, I believe is how you spell it, or is it EUX? It's one of those two. YouTube will correct it for you. So anyway, yeah, in closing, what we kind of need to do as a party, what we really, well, not kind of, there's no doubt about it, what we need to do is we got to remove these tumors from our back. We got to stop propping up these guys. The cuckservative party only exists because the liberty movement is propping it up. It's piggybacking on our successes, and we really need to address that for what it is and remove them. And if it's not through angry letters, if it's not through videos like this, then let's hit them where it really hurts. Let's turn them off. You know, hit them right in where the ratings are. Because sometimes I think that's all these people understand is ratings. Right now they've got decent ratings, and, you know, they feel that they can continue to control the narrative. They think that you guys don't think for yourselves. They want to control all the thoughts in your brain. And we need to let them know that that's not okay. So yeah, we need to remove these people, because they're killing our party, they're killing our movement. They're absolutely disconnected with the voter base. They don't know what we're pushing for. They don't believe in anything other than this weird reality where, yeah, sure, there's corruption, but now that the election's over, let's not worry about the corruption. And believe it or not, that was actually a quote from, well, it's not a direct quote, but it's a paraphrased quote from Armstrong and Getty. Another thing that I heard from them. They were trying to say that the Hillary email scandal is over, and we need to stop concentrating on it because now there's a new scandal. It's not like you solve the murder and then let the murderer go because you caught him. No, you hold them accountable for what their actions. You take them to jail, just like with Clinton. If she's guilty, I mean, we need to investigate, and we need to take her to jail after we find what we're looking for. I mean, the disconnect, like I said, between these cuckservative hosts and the reality of how pissed off people are is enormous. And I don't know if they're just paid. Like I said before, I don't know what planet they're on, if they're just paid to believe this stuff, say this stuff, or if they actually believe it. I can't figure it out. I can say that I've had about enough of their program, and you know, I've got a solution for it, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, we need to remove these tumors from the liberty movement. We need to stay strong. You know, if you guys feel inclined that you have good thoughts, get your ideas out there, use your voice, you know, because that's what we've got as a people. That's why I started this show. That's why I'm doing this episode right now. It's because we need to use our voices. We need to actually be heard. I don't want to ramble too much longer on that point. I think you guys get what I'm saying. So I'm going to close the show here. Thanks for watching, guys. You can follow me on Twitter at M.O.T.O.R Show 1776. That's all caps for Motor, underscore, capital S. The rest is H-O-W, lowercase, so, and then 1776 right after that. The links are, there's a link on my YouTube account. I don't know if the hyper's working or not, but just go on Twitter and look for me. You'll find me. Thanks for watching again. Leave comments down below if there's something I can work on. I mean, I'm pretty self-critical of myself, so chances are I probably already know that there's some issues. I know the camera's shaky. I know that I ramble a little bit and stuff, and I apologize for that. But, you know, kind of new to this sort of thing, so you'll have to cut me a little slack. But, yeah, if you guys like the program, you know, just like and favorite, subscribe, forward those links around the internet, throw me around a little bit, because, you know, let's get our voices heard. And if you don't feel I'm doing a good job, you can also let me know in the comments, or hell, if you really want to, you can go and get a GoPro, and you can do it yourself, and I would totally implore it, because the more voices we have, the stronger we are. So, you know, thanks for taking the ride, and until next time, this is Michael, signing off. Oh, and one more thing before I go. The solution to all of these cuckservatives, like I was saying, it's pretty obvious. I kind of already spelled it out for you guys, but I'd say the best solution is to do this.